Hey Rick, I'm sorry I can't be with you there all the time teaching you these techniques. I hope to be there at least on Wednesday um, for a little bit, probably an hour or so, maybe the whole time, depending on how things work out, and just help you find your style and also get you a little bit familiar with conducting techniques and practices. So I'm going to teach you some tips and tricks to do that. Um, so when you're conducting, at least if you're using the arrow style, because that's the one I did and that's the one I know best, I'm going to give you some tips and advice on that. So my first piece of advice is when you first conduct, and as you saw in the previous video, I wasn't like extremely even. So to make sure that you're very even, you always want to practice and rehearse either in front of a camera like I'm doing right now or in front of a mirror, just to make sure that each time you're hitting it evenly. I think it's better to look on a camera as opposed to a mirror because there's just a slight, ever so slight delay, and then you can kind of see where exactly your hands are hitting. So my second piece of advice would be make sure to always have your hands curled just slightly like this, and that's so the conducting is all about the bounce in the wrist, and whenever you hit those beats, so whenever you're hitting them hard, you want to be able to show the band where the beat is exactly. And so by having the curled fingers to rebound off when you bounce your wrist, it's going to give that beat and they're going to be able to pinpoint exactly where that beat is. Another piece of advice, make sure that you're practicing with a metronome all the time. So I have one up here. I'm not sure, I don't know if you can hear that, but that is set to 120 BPM. And this is important because a lot of either show music, what song it is, I don't remember, it's a patriotic song, I'm going to turn that off. A lot of show music, as well as the Grand Old Flag, that's what it is set to 120 BPM. And this is important because, like I said, it's just used for a lot of songs. So that's a good tempo to practice with. It's also nice to practice conducting with because it's a rather fast-paced tempo. So, you know, you heard it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So always familiarize yourself with the metronome. Also, it would be a really good idea if you start taking home the metronome every single day and practicing on your own time. That's what I did during June band. I would have the metronome set up and then practice in the mirror for almost an hour every single day. So make sure you're familiarizing yourself with that. And it's just good to know how the metronome works because it's like a rather complicated piece of equipment, and so I really kind of had to play around with some of the settings on there and learn how to use it. And the importance of practicing with a metronome is you're learning how to internalize an exact tempo. Like I told you, I could tell the difference between 120 and 121 BPM because I had practiced so much at 120 beats per minute that I just got familiarized and actually even internalized the tempo. Every time, like when we started the show, when we played A Sky Full of Stars, I would always sing, "Hear a Grand Old Flag." Da 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 da. Like I would always sing that to myself because that was the exact tempo of what we were playing the piece at, the opening piece at. And then another piece of advice for you is whenever you're practicing, make sure you're practicing with 2 stands laid flat like this. And you want it to come just below your bust whenever you hit those beats. And this is because you have like a general box, like a window, where you need to keep like your hands almost at all times. You don't want them going too far out, and you don't want them being so close together, like you have like a space where you need to keep your hands so the band can see and they can see clearly what's happening. Also, no fringe, no nothing on your wrists. Make sure every time you go to practice you're wearing white gloves so they can very clearly see where your hands are. You'll probably have to buy like 6 pairs. I know I did. And I went through, I think, all the pairs of gloves that I had. They'll get dirty really fast, and then they'll turn the same color as your skin, if not darker. So yeah, and then practicing with the stance laying flat, it's going to help you create that muscle memory for where you need to be hitting all the time. So that's a few of my tips and tricks. Hopefully I'll get the chance tomorrow to come and see you and practice with you a little bit and give you some advice. In the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Star Spangled Banner and some advice for that as well. And I can also talk to you more about the arrow style techniques. I didn't want to get too much into it because I don't know if you found a style yet or not that you like, but I do have advice for that. So yeah, in the next video, I'm going to talk about Star Spangled Banner.